you develop and train higher levels of consciousness, you will take your ego reality as the only reality. A warm welcome to all of you for our energy update, week 10, called Payoff. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm an energy healer, energy therapist, and visionary. And as we are reflecting on these collective energies, mostly targeted to those of us who are energetically sensitive, who have a feeling that they're picking up on energies and that these energies are affecting them. Training this sense of how is my own energy affected by outer energies and how does my energy affect outer energies? Training this perceptionary barrier between recognizing that I am, obviously here in 3D in a reality right now with a lot of challenges on the outside, with, the fear of war, the fear about resources and so forth, but simultaneously also a spirit being, a soul self, as we often call this, trying to navigate through this, what we call duality. And here at transCODES, some of you know this, we work with these collective energies on an ongoing level. We have energy healing and training sessions several times a week to work with these energies, not against them. We're not seeing those collective energies as negative or positive. We're seeing them as weather conditions, so to speak. So that said, it's also never really ending, this process of constantly adjusting. And when it comes to adjusting, there's something really important happening here right now. So if you've watched the energy forecast for March, you may have seen that there are, or heard, or maybe you're already experiencing it yourself, that there are very, very intense transformation energies right now. And this is a once in a lifetime constellation, I'd say, for our collective. So there are things that are happening right now that don't just happen. They are way showing for, the next generations. Okay. And that means that in us being here and consciously experiencing this right now is a message for us. Yeah. Why would our spirit being choose to be here in this time? Well, we all have a rather fuzzy idea about this. Yeah. We all, ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? Instead of, why did I choose to experience this? And this is one of the first sort of new programs or part of this reprogramming process that is happening in us right now, is that we're beginning to see that there's an interaction between our own perception and how we experience reality. Why? How is this happening? Well, for many of you, this has been happening for, decades already, but I think it's safe to say that for most people, it has become obvious in the last 2 years how the bias, how the way you interpret things, the way you see things, really determines how you experience your reality. Yes, so some people experienced these 2 pandemic years as, sort of terrible and disastrous, even if nothing actually happened. I mean, some of us went through severe trauma. There's no doubt about this. The loss of a loved one or the loss of our own health and so forth. Yeah, so that aside, many of us experienced these 2 years as extremely challenging, even though not a lot, besides, the outer regulations, happened in our life. And so here we can see that it depends on whether we see something like, like a new regulation or a new weather condition on the outside as disastrous, or whether we use this as a cue for us to rethink, reevaluate, and look at ourselves in this changing weather, so to speak, and see a new opportunity in this. Because for the other half, or 1/3, I'd say, of people, these last 2 years were extremely relieving and extremely liberating in a way, even though we've had all these outer restrictions, because they began to realize what truly matters for them. Yeah, what is truly important to them and right now. And as we went through all this physical fear, about our own survival in these past years, we are now getting an opportunity to reprogram our perspective on all these material values. And you've heard me talk about this a lot in the past, how I equated darkness with the fixation, like the two different sides of darkness, with the fixation either on the material, the matter, just seeing things as 3D, or the other extreme, the fixation on the spiritual and the sort of the external, the false light. So both of these darknesses do the same thing. One leads to us getting lost in myself, in my own narcissism, in my own, like, I want this now and I can't have this right now, so I need to get more, I need to do harder. And the other leads to us getting lost in the outside, losing touch with our own needs and wants and boundaries, and no longer really knowing who we are and why we came here. And so the big sort of new energy that is coming in here, as I called this in the forecast for March, is that we are beginning to see that not only that we have a choice, so that was the theme of February, but also that we are right here in the middle, and that it is up to us now, not just, sort of maybe assuming that we have a choice, but it's up to us to making this choice now, where I want to stand in relationship to reality. Do I want to be a conscious co-creator, or do I choose to be someone whom life happens to? So with all these new fears that are being triggered in us, which of course, redirect our attention, our energy once more. Where do they redirect our inner energies to? They redirect them to world peace, fear of World War III, fear of all the stuff that comes with it, supply chain issues, money being taken away or devaluated. Those are all material things. With that redirection, we as sovereign soul cells, as humans that understand that we are not just a body, not just matter, not just 3D, but that we are a soul, a spirit being, if you will, that has that physical experience. And the physical experience is very real and very dense, so there's no degradation in saying it this way, but that we have to make a choice now as to whether we want to degrade and reduce ourselves to the matter, or if we want to recognize that there is a learning here in this experience that allows us to what? And this is the theme of this next week, that allows us to see the payoff in either of these choices, these options that we have. Now, many of you associate payoff with something like self-gain, and I guess it's fair to say that obviously payoff is something that can be seen as, an ulterior motive, or as something that we keep hidden, maybe even something that sort of contextualizes as a shadow within us, So it's a part of us that we don't easily admit to ourselves, yeah? But some of us have already learned that looking at the payoff is something that makes a lot of sense, because we have these parts in us, for example, the ego in us, yeah, that's supposed to ensure our survival, that will always make decisions based on the 3D matter component of our life. Yeah, and with that, yeah, it can strongly influence our physical, our emotional, and our intellectual experience of what we are seeing as reality. Yeah, and we need to understand that just because there is an ego payoff doesn't mean that we're dark. It just means that there is a tendency in us to pull us into that 3D survival, which is valid. It is necessary, because until, and that is what you need to remember here for this next week, that's relevant, until you develop and train higher levels of consciousness, you will take your ego reality as the only reality. Now, some of you have gone through many teachings and gurus and teachers and so forth over the past decades, all right? And you have explored the other side of that duality. You've explored, your spiritual interest. You've, maybe tried alternative healing. You've tried energy work. You've tried things that are less dense, less 3D, yeah, in the search for truth, or in the search for something that speaks to you on a more, I want to say, congruent or authentic level. And there too is a danger to get lost in that. Yeah, I know that it's hard to take that, because not a lot of people talk about New Age and these movements over the last 30, 40 years in the way that I do. So stay neutral here. Yeah, there is the same propensity, the same tendency for us to get lost in that spiritual understanding of life. Okay, and that's, if you will, just as dark. Yeah, so there too is a payoff. And the payoff there is not narcissism or self-gain. The payoff there is basically sort of a checkout, yeah, like a not wanting to deal with things, not wanting to be an active participant, to basically say ourselves, oh well, that's just 3D, yeah, and who cares about it? I am, a part of this organization or this a spiritual movement or whatever. I stand above 3D. Yeah, I elevate myself over 3D, and therefore I don't need to participate in this. I'm not sure if you can feel this, but there is an ulterior motive there as well. And that would be to not take responsibility for, who you are here, who you're showing up in your life as, yeah, and how your life is, expressing what your potential is. So your higher potential, guys, is in recognizing what both of these payoffs are. Yeah, on one hand, yeah, the narcissistic traits that we all have and that we all need to survive, and on the other side, yeah, the tendency to wanting to check out and to neglect or perhaps even reject, yeah, 3D life, because you see yourself as a spirit being only. On a long enough timeline, yeah, you are a spirit being primarily, but right now and right here, where the experience takes place, you are both. And this next week is about harmonizing this within yourself. And the reason why I said it's relevant, yeah, that you understand the payoff of both sides is say, you have to come to terms with this. You have to reconcile this within yourself and say to yourself, yeah, I can see that. I can see how I make choices on one hand based on fear, based on rejection, based on, trying to avoid a certain negative experience, which is understandable. And on the other hand, I favor things that allow me to experience some kind of pleasure or some kind of joy or some kind of, sort of what we sometimes call false light. Yeah. So by mitigating some of these 3D struggles, okay, we often create something, yeah, that is what we call here shadow work, shadow, okay, the shadow part of our personality, yeah, where we're creating sort of a better world outside of ourselves. Yeah, so this is something that relates to our perception, and in this next week, our perception will open up. So you guys will experience a major, major expansion of your perception, partially through those 3D revelations of truth that we are still getting in, like I mentioned, hard to keep up with those, but also partially because it is the next evolutionary step for you, and your perception is opening up so much right now that you will have a feeling that it's hard for you physically to keep up with this. So my energy tip for you for this next week is, on a physical level, to allow yourself to go into this expansion, stretch more. Stretching will be a really, really important discipline for you here for the whole entire month of March. Yeah, because this adjustment, this metamorphosis that I described in the forecast requires you to really allow this to go through you on all levels of your being, on the level of your skeleton, the densest part of you, on the level of your muscles and joints, and on the level of your nervous system, and on the biochemical cellular level. You have to allow that to happen. This is also why we really want to pay attention to our nutrition. And many of you have already discovered a connection here between nutrition and energetic well-being. Because if you feed your body with substances, and maybe they were okay for you, 20 years ago or 10 years ago, but within the context of this transformation, where your body wants to vibrate on a higher vibration, where you want to become less dense and remove all the blockages, yeah, that this 3D existence has basically confronted you with, you will need different kinds of building blocks as food. Yeah, you will need less calories. You will need, lighter foods. You will need more warmth, more natural food, etc. So I've talked about this many, many times, and there's lots of videos here on my channel about high vibrational diets. This is a normal development for us, to wanting to be able to embrace this more, say, or higher vibratory being that we are, through our bodies being able to handle this. And right now, you will probably feel this as a struggle. This is where the tiredness, the exhaustion comes from, because it feels very challenging for your current sort of biochemistry, yeah, to hold these higher vibratory energies. So you might feel this as nervousness as well. And some of you who are like, I want to say, thrill addicts like myself, you may actually feel extremely energized. You may go like a endless like Duracell monkey, okay, and then crash at the end of the day. So this is kind of like what happens to me right now. Yeah, is that I feel very, very comfortable in these energies. Yeah, because my system has basically preparing for all of this. So it's very natural for me to wanting to expand and wanting to transcend my blockages. So I'm not afraid of looking at my payoffs. I'm not afraid of looking at my blockages. I'm not afraid of looking at the foods that I eat or the habits that I have, because I understand the bigger purpose of that transformation. And so that is really what you're going to be experiencing on a deeper level here, is that you're beginning to see purpose. You're beginning to see why your life has changed in these last years, or, even just in the last 2 years. You begin to understand why you feel the need to maybe move somewhere else where it's warmer, or maybe to leave a current relationship, that you've identified is no longer oriented, or no longer really carrying you into growth. And there is no judgment with this. It's just that you recognize that your value and your needs and your vision is different from that of your partner, or say, the job that you're in that cannot actually allow you growth anymore. So mark my words here, guys. March is a very, very important month for you to put in the seeds for the next 20 years. But again, we have a lot of different stepping stones here on the way and pit stops, where we can review. So don't get stressed out when I say that. Just see what it is that come in. When I say see, I don't mean visually see. Allow it to come in, expand into it. Do not be afraid of the confrontation with untruth. Do not be afraid of the confrontation with unlovingness. Do not be afraid with the confrontation with all these restrictions. Your job is not to become, a freedom fighter. Your job is to transform your inner freedom, is to transform your inner love, is to transform your inner truth, and therefore impacting the overall collective energy in a way that, basically, if you look at it from an, 3D standpoint, reach a critical mass. One person who can transform their own ego into a higher vibratory state of I am awareness, or consciousness, as we call this, has an impact 100,000 times stronger than someone who is caught in their own ego. So in other words, guys, one soul at a time, we are transforming our whole entire human collective. And when you look at things such as the Ukraine thing right now, what do you see? You see old paradigm stuff that no longer feels important. Yes, of course, it's a humanitarian crisis. And yes, of course, there's lots of war crimes committed right now. And yes, of course, it's terrible that our own governments jump on this as a way to, as an engine, to increase their economy. Yes, there is a lot of stuff, much more than just the injustice here that is being done. There is, just like how we've seen this with COVID, there is a concentrated, coordinated response. It's been set up that way, but it's old school, it's old paradigm. We already know this. Same old, same old. We already know that this isn't going to lead anywhere. This isn't going to lead to growth. This isn't even going to help Russia to grow. We know this. You can feel this with every fiber of your body. So reacting to it in the same way as we have in the last hundreds and thousands of years isn't going to lead to higher vibratory solutions. It's completely outdated. And guys, use this for your own life. Use this insight for your own life. Stop doing the same old. That is no longer leading you to anywhere other than, white knuckle trying to hold on to the same old that you don't even want anymore. Yeah. This is the new energy, guys. To recognize that there is a new era. And that's not woo talk. We can all feel this. It is something that informs us basically about, sort of the next level, the next step of evolution. Yeah, that's what transformation means. And just like, if you just look at recent developments, let's say emancipation, it's only, a little more than 100 years ago that women were allowed to vote. Look at slavery. It's only 150 years since there was the awareness that maybe not a good thing. Yeah. I mean, we're not really that sophisticated as humans yet. Okay, these things take a while. And while these cycles and rhythms go faster now than they used to, okay, it still takes a moment for it to sink in. This is the inertia of the collective. So what you can do here, and this is why we're here, and this is why so many of us are here right now, yeah, is to transform that, to open yourself up to transform that in your own life. Okay, because that's how this happens. Yeah, and when it comes to slavery, Syria, I agree with you. But pointing out, all these things, yeah, is fear-mongering. You got to understand that. That's a new age wrong exit, okay? To constantly point out, oh, the powers to be and the cabal and oh, they're all against you and blah, blah, blah. And what? So what? Yes, it's true. But what now? Okay, that is why we came here for. We came here for transforming this, and having the impact on others. We do not motivate people by trying to prove to them that we were right. We do not motivate people by trying to prove to them that they are wrong. We motivate people by showing them how it's done. For the entire 2 years that I have been reporting about COVID vaccines and the energetic component, actually I've been reporting about this for 3 years, the mind control elements and so forth. It has become increasingly aware to me that there really is no satisfaction in me saying, I told you so. This has never been the reason why I talked about these things to you. I wanted to help you to see your part in this. The next level. Okay, what's beyond this? Okay, so this is what I hope for all of us now. Yeah, through these beautiful energies that are coming in here in this next week. It's my birthday week, by the way. That, we are starting to internalize, and see what our higher potential as individual, as community, and as collective truly is, and how to translate this into this world, into 3D. Wonderful, guys. With this, I would like to conclude. If you are interested in working these collective energies, or in group or in private sessions, please go to my website. If you would like to experience this for yourself in person, once a year I do a retreat in Iceland. Yeah, again, check the website. It's from the 27th of June to the 1st of July. And in many of these programs, is where you can learn to sharpen your consciousness systematically. So let's do this together, guys. Let's do this one soul at a time. And here on this exact channel that we are airing this right now on Skype, you can do daily online meditations and discussions for free at different times of the day, 7 days a week, thanks to all these beautiful souls that have come together here and recognized the enormous power in doing this with others by showing how it's done. So thank you to all of you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming to the Daily Sacred Cells. Thank you for dedicating your energy to this way of thinking. Love you guys. See you soon again. Bye-bye.